Hi, this is Michael, and we're looking at the US dollar chart. Okay, so just when you thought I'd done quite a bit of analysis on the US dollar, I'm changing the count again. Now, these ideas are designed to get you thinking, to get you wondering, is this the right count? So, my goal is to improve every day and get myself up to the point where I'm looking at so many charts, making so many ideas that I start to see things along the way that need attention, need to be changed. So according to this count, this is a 1 2 1 2 and then 1 at the highs count. Okay, now I'm going to explain to you why I believe this is true and why this can't just be a 1 2 3 4 5. Why this can't just be a 1 2 3 4 5? Because look, it would make sense, and it would make a lot of sense actually. Except the problem with that view is that the euro doesn't support it. Okay, so I'll explain that to you first. I might chop and change between these two charts. The euro, if this was a wave 3, the green line, then you wouldn't have the overlap between waves 1 and 2 and wave 4. Okay, you wouldn't have that kind of overlap if that was the case. But upon inspecting the waves closely, this has got to be the count, should be the count. And the reason I say that is because at the beginning, the euro had a 5-wave move in 2008, right? A small 5-wave move followed by an A, B. So if you look at this B, you can see that it's a 3-wave move right there, right? A, B, C. Now, the deal with that is, sorry, one sec. Yeah, so the deal with that is that this is a C wave. Now, definitely weird looking C wave, but when you look closely at the low, you can see that there was an up and down move and then a sharp 3, a 4, and then a 5. So it's a 5-wave move. Now, given that perspective, this here's a D and this is an E. So in the end, it actually is very similar pattern than what the US dollar was doing in reverse. So instead of thinking that it was doing a completely different pattern, I've gone back and I've double checked that idea and I found it to be inaccurate. So having to go and comb through each one of these waves again, the reason I did that is actually because of the Aussie dollar last night, right? There's some interesting price action going on there that made me look at the US dollar and the euro again in depth, very in depth. So this is the part where things get a bit interesting. And so, okay, so we had wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So in my opinion, the move down since January 2021 was at wave 5. So if you take a look at the RSI, it makes sense that it was a wave 5 because it was weak compared to the wave 3, okay, which was the weakest. Sorry, I mean it was stronger. Wave 5 was stronger in terms of RSI than the wave 3, which showed the most weakest because these are waves down. Okay, so having said that, even though the pattern is different than the US dollar because of the overlap, there is another couple of slight differences. For example, in the US dollar, wave 3 ended here, but this never made a high. A new low. So the pattern was counted A, B, C, D, E, rather than the US dollar counted A, B, C, D, E. So those are small differences that are palatable compared to anything else. All right. So So you're probably just thinking now, okay, so what's happening now? What's this correction about? Why is it moving up if this is supposed to move down? Well, of course, after every 5 wave move, you get a correction of some sort. So due to alternation, wave 2 up here was kind of expanded and sideways. So alternation suggests that the second wave 2, the wave 2 for wave 3, should be sharp and somewhat deep, but I don't know how deep it'll be. So it kind of fits in line with the first kind of idea I had, except it's a little bit of a different view. Now I'm going to explain what I believe that means by going over to the US dollar chart again. And just first of all, just going back over that move again. So the 5 wave move, I changed it, and this is what I've come up with. Okay, I've come up with the third of a third wave being here in blue. You can see it, right? And then the first move up corresponds with this wave, and then the 5th wave corresponds with the first wave. All right, so look, that there, the only reason I'm really starting to believe that this count is true is because there's a few charts that sort of are indicating this. So the first thing, up the highs, go to the highs, right? 4 hour, right? First 2 waves I can see, A, B, right? So this led me on a bit of a hunt to see, well, how did this end? And what I came across was a little bit different on the euro than in the US dollar. So the difference here is that the A, B, C pattern is actually there, whereas in the euro it's a straight A, B, C, D, E pattern. This one's like A, B, C within the same pattern, which is the only difference that I can see, which then makes it that this here is a 5 wave move. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's the difference, the main difference here in the count. In the euro, it doesn't look like that. It actually looks like a proper 5 wave move with the ABC occurring a bit more like proper looking. Okay. So I won't go over that now because there's a few other things I want to show you. So when it comes down to it, the C wave ended there. So that move up still looking like a D wave as per the previous idea. Just that, like I said, if we didn't break this high here, then we never got confirmation, obviously. And that move at the lows, even though I said this is a complete wave, well, it must be wave 1, okay? Wave 1 of wave E. So, sorry, this is a D up here. Okay, so that being said, we have A, B, C done. D is there. Now we need 5 waves down for wave E. And that's what last night was all about with the CPI numbers. It's all coming together now. It's all starting to make sense. So I'm just trying to piece that together in other charts, and I will bring you that shortly. But it does sort of make you wonder about the coming move, right? In the Dow Jones, for example, and also in the Aussie dollar. So I'm going to get to that. I'm going to get to those videos separately. Um, I might touch on the Dow Jones in this video just because I see that it could be sort of something related there. So if we go to the 15-minute chart, okay, I've got my count up on the screen here for the small degree. So that was a wave 1 because like I said, it's a 5 wave move, and I did say in that video, is this an A, B, C, or are we looking at some weird 1, 2 pattern? Well, it turned out to be an A, B, C pattern, obviously, right? But the way that it subdivides also gave was the actually it was the start of giving me the clues last night in the Aussie dollar that made me really think, wait a minute, why does it look like the Aussie dollar is going higher? That goes back to my first idea. And then it set me off on this um, mad analysis rush that I went through, especially this morning. So just zooming in a bit more, you can see the A, B, C there. I just want to show you a bit closer what I see here. So I see one, I see I see B, I see C, and then I see the D that happened halfway during this zigzag down. We see D. So let me just expand that out so you can see what I mean. So you see A, B, C, and immediately the C finish we saw, sorry, the D finish we saw E. So that there marked the end of wave two. So that means we're going to see still some movement down in wave three. So that there was like, wow, okay, interesting. So then we got an A, B, C, weak, I think that's a weak wave C, right? And then now I think we're in the middle of D. And then another E, and then that's minor wave one, two, and then so on and so forth. We should see move down. So how would you trade this? Well, wave two up here is resistance, right? So obviously on the euro, that's a similar thing. So I'll probably will this time bring out an idea for this, just because I see it as an opportunity for a small gain there to make up for yesterday's shenanigans. So an opportunity for a bit of a scalp trade, not a long term trade, just something there to tide you over whilst you're getting ready for some other price action in the future. But this really does paint a different kind of picture as to what's going on though. So let me explain. So if we're looking at 1, 2 here, right? Well, for starters, we haven't seen 3, and wave 1 is this long, this length, right? So obviously we're going to see something at least that long, and obviously wave 3s are longer. Well, typically they're longer, right? So we've got some decent movement going to happen soon. So let's just go back for the 4-hour chart again. We may need to go to the daily. Yeah, we'll go to the daily. So on the daily, right, you think about this and you think, okay, well, we need to see a pullback somewhat for wave E. And now this is definitely one of those times where you can consider it a sharp correction, especially in the grand scheme of things, right? You know how sometimes you label some sharp correction as a move there, and you think, oh my God, is that really the correction? But maybe you did it in hindsight, so you know that that was the correction. It was pretty sharp. It's like, well, but it looks like it makes sense. Well, that's this is probably going to be one of them. Now, how low it goes, that's another story. Because if this is a wave three pattern, typically corrections they're not very deep. They don't go down that hard, that fast. So, for example, I mean, you can just see this example on any chart, right? Let's just see. So, have a look here, right? You have a look here. You can see that there is. Okay, let me say it this way. There is a 1-2 here, right? Now that's obviously the same wave because the first 1-2 has been done, and then the second 1-2 is here, right? Now have a look at how weak and small that correction is. Have a look at that. Have a look at most of these corrections along the way. They're not really that deep, especially 5 waves upper than this. That didn't even go to the previous fourth wave, if that's a fourth wave, supposedly, right? Um, but along the way you can see small correction, small correction, you know, and this is wave 3 price action, right? Obviously, the first one too was pretty deep correction, but we're in wave 3, so why would we expect this to go terribly low? Maybe this is right. Maybe this could be the count that we've been looking for, but that paints a nasty picture. The Dow Jones may rally. It may actually rally to complete that D wave that I've been talking about. It may actually rally from where we are, right? Very soon. And that would be weird. That would be pretty crazy, right? It just really makes you wonder, how long is this E wave going to be? If if the markets are going to go up considerably, how that's a bit crazy. But the thing is that just because the US dollar moves up, it doesn't mean the market's going to move up immediately, exactamundo, exact time, right? It doesn't mean that. So let's put that to the test, shall we? So let's say, for example, we go to January 2021. That's the low here. January 2021. Okay. So, all right. Well, we know that the pandemic crash, if you want to call it, wave C, happened around this time, right? Happened right here. So interestingly, this US dollar kept falling um, afterwards, which is fair enough because the markets rallied until, did they rally until January 2021? Let's have a look. Did the markets rally until January 2021? Nope. They rallied until December 2021, right? So whilst the US dollar was going up, so was the market. Okay, so don't always correlate US dollar up and down with the stock market to the exact point, right? I don't think that's wise. I don't think that's wise. Of course, there comes a time when that sort of thing does happen, but it's not exact pattern. It's not the euro, is it? So just be careful with correlating too much. Use it as a guide, but don't correlate it excessively. Like you can't look at the euro chart and says that looks like the Dow Jones because it's against the US dollar. It doesn't. All right. So enough on that. So yeah, this could keep falling whilst uh, shit is happening. Good shit is happening in the markets, right? Whilst it moves up in a good way. Um, yeah. So that being said, like this is going to keep falling, but I expect the market to go up, right? Uh, this could turn around at some point and the market's still going up until a certain point, until it doesn't, right? As you've seen, it's not always the same. So obviously we've got to track that. We've got to pay attention to that. So yeah, that's this type of thing is looking like it's the one. So it's looking like I'm getting closer at least, even if it's not the one. I don't want to keep saying that. Sound like a broken record, but we're getting closer. All right. So I'm gonna touch on the other videos shortly to update them according to this view, which is interesting to say the least. So I'll catch you on the next.